makes a person of interest. Coach Micheal Burt cuts to the chase, interviewing some of the biggest names in the world. How do they think? What makes them tick? What are their thought processes? And how they became a person of interest.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Next Gen Coach Chronicles. Every single week, me or I'm going to have someone else on the podcast talk about how we can create a bigger influence and income in your business. This is for coaches, trainers, anyone who's wanting to do those two things, create more influence and income. I met this guy at Door to Door Con, one of the biggest door-to-door conferences in the world, with my man Sam Taggart. You should check out his podcast. We did it about a couple months ago, and he's talking about sales. He's the king of sales. But I have my man, Coach Burt, America's coach, on today. What's up, man?
How you doing, man? It was such a pleasure to meet you, and I've really enjoyed following your stuff and what you're doing. And I do think you're a person of increase. You know, I can tell when you're around people that you leave them with a feeling of advancement. And love following you on Instagram. And let me tell you something: if I had your looks and your hair, I'd be worth $1 billion. not just a little single-digit millionaire.
Yeah, I think people pay attention to you though with the baldness too. Though add some wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, I was 25 years old. I was a high school coach, and I was losing some of my hair. And I went over to one of my best friend's house, and he's like, "Man, when are you gonna do something about that?" And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, "You got to take care of that." And I went that day and had it shaved, like that day, and I had a goatee. You know, he's like, "A dude like you with a bald head and a little goatee, he's like, you would be such a little badass, man."
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, all right. I mean, so I did it that day, but I needed my friend to kind of say that to me for me to go do it.
Yeah. You didn't try to do the Donald Trump comb over, huh?
No, I just took it all the way. Now, people don't know this, but this is actually a very high maintenance haircut because I have to cut my hair every day.
Yeah, I can see that.
If I'm doing an event at night, I actually sometimes cut it twice. And my wife is like, "What are you doing? Like, why do you need to cut it again? You cut it this morning." I'm like, "Babe, it's already growing out. I can feel it. I feel like I got, like an afro on top of my head, and it's like this tall." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a feeling.
Well, cool. So America's coach. So, one of the things that I really help coaches with is branding. So tell me where you got America's coach from. Like, how did that become one of your main messages and brands? Because that's a bold claim.
Yeah.
There.
The way the super coach concept came to me was I was in Miami, and Grant Cardone had asked me to speak to his sales team. Mm-hmm. And it was back when Twitter was really, really popping. And he tweeted out, "We have a super coach in Miami tomorrow, America's coach. What should I ask him?" And I never thought about calling myself a super coach before, but it kind of goes to this concept of I'm a former championship women's basketball coach, but I have an entrepreneurial mind. So I have the intensity of a coach has built a championship program, but I have all this business savvy. So that kind of is a cross, which is where we kind of came up with that super coach and America's coach.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I love Grant Cardone. Me and my wife last year spent an entire day with Elena Cardone doing a video series for Women's Second Amendment. And man, I really gained a lot of love and respect for Elena when I spent the day with her. Like, she's a badass. Have you got a chance to meet her?
I have. Yeah. What's funny is in 2012, the way I met Cardone is I used to have a radio show on the Fox News Network. Uh-huh. And it was called Change Your Life Radio. And the concept was 1 hour can change your life. And I was constantly looking for people to interview, right? Like big time people.
Sure.
And I was going through an airport and I saw 10X and I said, "This dude looks good. Looks like he'd be smart. Why don't I have?" Yeah. I had no idea who he was, but I reached out and had him on my podcast. We built a relationship, built a friendship. And I actually spoke at the very first 10X event in Riviera Maya, Mexico in 2012.
Oh, nice. That's really cool.
There were 75 people there. It's where I spent a lot of time with Elena. Bradley was there. Cardone. It's where I met Matt Monero. It was a really, really good event, but it was small and intimate. It was nice.
Nice. I love Bradley. He's a badass. Yeah. Do you have a good relationship with him, or have you just met him?
No, I have a very good relationship with him. Actually, I did a cruise this past weekend, and I had like 7 or 8 speakers on that cruise with me. It was my cruise, and they spoke on it. And Bradley was one of those people with me.
Yeah, he's a good man. I like what he's all about. So for the listeners, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into coaching.
I started coaching very early in life. I actually started as a little junior pro basketball coach when I was 15, and knew immediately that I was supposed to be coaching people. So started coaching at 15, was an elementary basketball coach at 18, became the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee at the second largest high school at 21, and then spent a decade really building a powerhouse. And people were constantly asking me what I was doing and how I was doing it. And what I was doing was using the whole person theory. I was a deep disciple of Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey, and he taught people are made up of 4 parts: a body, a mind, a heart, and a spirit. Each of the parts produce 4 different needs, 4 different intelligences. So I was using a lot of deep methodology to win and build this program. And so many people were constantly asking me. I finally just said, man, why don't I write a book? And I ain't got time to explain what I'm doing here. I'll just start writing books. So I started writing books, and people began to ask me to speak. And I would go speak for an hour. And one dude came up to me and said, man, you're good. It's like, you could go on the circuit. And I was like, well, what circuit are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you know, successful coaches go around the world and get paid a lot of money to speak and teach their methodology. And I'm like, okay. So I went home that night, got online, and I looked up Lou Holtz. And I saw where Lou Holtz, who was the coach at Notre Dame at the time, and he was making $100,000 per presentation to speak. And I'm like, okay.
Was that selling from the stage, or was that just a flat fee that he got?
That was his speaking fee.
Dude, what? That's crazy.
Yes.
This was back literally. Gary V, they get paid what, $60,000-$80,000 a presentation. So this guy's making $100,000. That is crazy.
$100,000, and I'm like, I can do this. Like, man, I can do this. So
I could do a tenth of that, right?
Yeah, I stayed for a decade and, you know, built a championship program, and then retired from athletic coaching to build a multi-million-dollar coaching business. And so all I've been doing the last, 12 or 13 years is coaching entrepreneurs, sales professionals, business owners, companies, and I speak at a lot of events like you do, where I met you at D2D. And from that, we sign up a lot of people for our coaching programs. I become the coach of some of the companies. We do additional speaking engagements. Like, it just keeps feeding the whole thing.
Yeah. So let's jump back to earlier in your career, because a lot of the listeners that are watching right now are listening right now. And this is the thing that really held me back earlier in my career, is I didn't really think it was possible to make this much money. I mean, when I was growing up, I was like, man, I'd be happy making $40,000 a year. And I hear other people, say these low level numbers too. Like, I would be happy making 80 or 60. Is like, man, you can't even impact anybody except for yourself with that type of money, So what were some of the earlier things that you had to work past when making more money in the business?
When I was a basketball coach, I was earning, my first year, $24,000 a year. At my peak, I was making $60,000 a year, and I was working literally 80 hours a week. Every week, I used to work 8 hours a day on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand what my primary skill was. I didn't know how to take that primary skill into another arena. And what exposed me to that is I was speaking at Dell Computers when I was 25, 26 years old on the book that I wrote, which is why everybody needs to write a book, because it opens doors. You have a message. And I go over to Dell Computers, and they pay me more in an hour than I made in a month.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, I have a skill set. I've worked 10 years developing this primary skill. There are people who would pay me a lot more money for this skill in another arena over here. I just didn't know it until I got exposed to it. Because if you came to me, Travis, when I was 25 or 26 years old, and said, man, you're a level 10 dude. You're stuck in a level 4 opportunity. Like, you could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars doing this. I would look at you and be like, well, why would I want to do that? Like I'm coaching, I'm happy. I got a nice little condo. Like, I had no idea of this whole other world that was out there until I got exposed to that. And exposure is an activator of a person's pre-drive, P-R-E-Y, drive. It activates a drive in you. And so that one exposure opened my eyes, like, okay, there's a bigger potential. There's a bigger play here for me. I can take my skills to another arena. And most coaches have an idea, a thought, a book, but they don't have a sales machine behind it. They don't have a selling system behind it. They don't have a marketing plan behind it. It's like they got the idea, but they don't have the push into the marketplace.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with a lot of coaches out there, so going back to, how you got stuck, is like they don't have vision for what's really possible. They can't see that they could actually do it. And I mean, when I first heard, like, I got into speaking because I just love speaking. You know, I didn't do it for the money. I love, you know, talking in front of a room, essentially.
Mhm.
I like to hear myself talk. So let's go do it. And once I started to get involved with all the other speakers, I started to see like really what's possible. So I think the biggest problem that is people just don't see that it's possible for them. They don't see that. Why would someone pay me $5,000-$10,000 to put together a presentation or a coaching program? And then I think it comes down to the sales and everything else. And I was checking out, you know, your website, and you got a nice sexy logo right there behind you. It says Micheal Burt Enterprises. And I think the biggest thing, it comes down to the branding. Tell us about your process that you've went through, your branding and everything that you've done to develop that.
Well, I think of it this way. There's a lot of talented people in the world that don't know how to package and sell their special.
Uh-huh.
They don't know how to monetize their special. So what I figured out my special was activating the prey drive in another person, packaging and delivering content in a way that gets people to move, taking complicated stuff and making it simple. Then
Yeah.
I needed to put a brand behind it. I need to say, okay, my coaching program is called Monster Producer. And Monster Producer is a legendary creature that combines multiple skills to dominate a market. So we need this little monster, this little that looks like wrist, and then we need to brand it up with the little Monster Producer. And then I need this whole concept of Coach Burt. He's America's coach, and he activates the prey drive in people. And we need to package that into books and audios, and we need to package it into coaching programs and retreats and cruises. And we need to monetize this, man.
Yeah.
And to monetize it, you know, some people have this $1 million message and $15 brand. You know, they need like they're good. Like Brad, let's use something that Brad Lee told me once. He said, man, you're one of the best unknown people in the world. He's like, we got to help you become more known because your stuff is good.
Yeah.
But you're real good, but you're not real known. And so, you know, so I've hired people like Two Market Media, Steve Carlos and Hank Norman out of New York City to help me become better known. I'm on tour with Tim Story, celebrity life coach, and Sharon Lecter that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I spoke at 10X2, you know, and I'm getting out there trying to build my brand in the world because 12 years ago I was a high school basketball coach. And that's why people need to know it's possible. Is you can go from being a high school basketball coach to a multimillionaire if you just take your skills to a higher frequency.
Yeah, and I totally believe that. I think when most people get in the coaching, and this was my biggest problem, is we see people who need help the very most. And the people who need help the very most are usually the broke people financially and internally. They don't believe anything's possible. And so we go to try to help those people, but they're not even willing to help themselves. Meanwhile, that same work, that same information, you can take to, like you're saying, those bigger companies, corporate, and they'll pay a lot more for that and invest a lot more into it. And I think that's the biggest problem that I came up against. And it's the same damn work. It's the same work. It's just who are you taking that to? But I think people struggle internally because they don't want to feel like they're a sellout or that it's about the money. Like, what would you say to those coaches? Like, have you ever battled that internally? Like you had this hero villain conflict within you?
Well, I just think where there's no profit, there's no mission. I understand the importance of money as a tool to reach people, money as a tool to market, money as a tool to expand, money as a tool to hire more people, to help more people. And
but you didn't always think that though, did you?
No, I didn't always think that.
Well, what was that mind thing? What was that wall that you had to break through? And what was that limiting belief that was for you?
I think that the wall was as I began to make money. I remember when my company did $1 million of revenue the first time. And, you know, you really figure out that it's not a lot of money. Number one, until you really start getting to a higher level, you don't figure out what's going to happen to you, what could happen to you, how much money you really need. I think through exposure to the people we've mentioned, to the exposure to people like a Bradley or a Cardone or a Milet, they have really helped me to understand, look, money is to be used as a tool. It's to be used to create more money. Okay. And for the first 3, 4, 5 years, I had one person on my team. You know, most speakers have one person on their team that handles their bookings. And are they flying on Southwest or American, or are they staying at a Marriott or a Hilton? Like now I have a president of my company. I have a sales team. I have a marketing department. I have a personal assistant. I have an AR people. Like I have a real company. and my job is to be Coach Burt. My job is to go out and promote. My job is to sing the songs. My job is to show up. I tell my group I want to be Garth Brooks. I just want to show up and sing the songs. I don't want to set up the
got
stage.
a good accent for it.
Yeah, exactly. So
you're from Tennessee, right?
I'm from Tennessee. Yeah, outside of Nashville.
Nashville. Yeah, I need to make my way out to Nashville one of these days.
Absolutely, you'll fall in love with this place. Trust me.
Yeah, I bet. So, who was the first person you hired in the business, and who do you think the first person coaches should hire when they're building a business?
The first person I hired was just a personal assistant many years ago, and I actually took one of my assistants from my high school coaching job to come with me to be my assistant, and that was a good move. But then you need salespeople. You need as you begin to roll out. And like I said, I have a company, so I want a person to run the company. I don't want to run the day-to-day operations of the company. I want to show up and speak. Most speakers never get to this point. They never start thinking, well, I got a little company and I want somebody to run the company, and I'm the coach. My job is to coach people all day long. My job is to show up to that 1,500 people at door to door and knock everybody's socks off. So we get, we picked up about 500 leads that day at door to door. So now we come back and we got to hand those out to the sales team, and we got to work them, and we need the funnels going, and we need everybody clicking. And, it's just, but my job was to show up and be really good. And I think too many coaches and speakers think, well, I'm going to one-to-one coach people. Listen, there's only so many people you can coach one-to-one. And you're going to get to a number and you're going to be like, man, I need to group coach people, and I need higher levels. Like we have a $25,000 level and a $40,000 and a $60,000 and a $100,000. And I'm convinced, Travis, if I had $1 million level, that somebody would pay it out there. Paul Tudor Jones has paid Tony Robbins $1 million a year for the last 20 or 30 years to be his personal coach. And they asked him, like, what did he expect from the relationship with Tony Robbins? And he said, I just wanted to know that he would answer the phone when I called him. For $1 million a year, right? So here's my point, man.
You better answer the phone if someone's paying you $1 million, right?
Yeah. If Tony Robbins can do it, we can do it. That's the point I'm trying to make. I remember when I had just a $5,000 level. Then somebody said, well, you need a $25K level. Then you need a $40K level. Then you need a $60. Then you need a $100. So we actually had as much as a $350,000 level at this past year. So for me, I want to just say, if a person spends $350,000 with me, I want them to know they can make back a couple million off that investment for me.
And that kind of goes into the next one. Like, coaching's just going insane right now, right? Like everyone and their dog is a coach, right? And there's a lot of coaches out there, but there's also a lot of people out there who have hired coaches that complain they didn't get the result. Like, how do you approach those clients that, kind of have that victim mentality and feel like, man, they didn't get the investment that they paid for? How do you handle those clients? And you have any scenarios that have came up in the past and what you've done?
Listen, I've always gotten my money's worth out of everything that I put time and energy and effort into. I can get a good idea from a bad book.
Sure. Oh, totally.
I can, I've been in this real extreme training over the last 90 days where I've lost like 22 pounds. I'm on this really, good regimen. I know you're a workout guy and you look good, and, but here's the deal. Nobody shows up to the gym for me. I can't delegate that out. I can't blame my trainer and say, man, I'm not getting the results I want, but I didn't show up.
Yeah. So how do you deal with the client that complains? What have you, because everyone's had complainers. What have you done in the past?
I say that to them. I'm like, look, man, you haven't been in class for 3 months. You're not on my Monday accountability call. Like, what do you want me to do for you? Move in with you? Like, I'm not moving in with you for $1,500. You pay $1 million, I may move in with you. And if you do that, I'll kick your ass every morning. That's what you need.
Yeah.
But my point is, we live in a world where people buy things and don't use them. They get excited. They see you speak at an event. They buy your coaching program. They never show up for it. Listen, when I spoke at 10X, this is a true story.
Yeah.
When I spoke at 10X, we did a couple $100,000 that day, that hour that I spoke. We did almost $1 million after I spoke. Do you know that some of the people that got excited bought my coaching package for a whole year? We didn't hear from them. We didn't even know they existed. We didn't know. We tried to reach them. We tried to text them. We tried to call them. A year and 2 years later, we would get emails from people that said, I bought your coaching package at 10X. It's 2 years later. I've never opened it. I've never logged in. I'd like a refund or something. And I'm like, look, man, we're not giving your money back on something we gave you at a discount that you did. Like we ought to tax you for being a dummy, for not doing anything with it. Like there ought to be an additional charge for you. But this is what happens in the coaching space is that people get a coaching program, then they don't do what the coach says, and they complain that didn't work. Well,
Yeah.
it didn't work because you didn't work it. Because the truth is, Travis, I could show you, I just use examples. Like if I'm coaching real estate agents, I say, well, let me tell you about a real estate agent that I helped go from doing 45 deals a year to 160 deals a year. He was making 80,000 a year. Now he's making 100,000 a month. Why is it working for him and it's not working for you? Like, why is it, what is he doing that you're not doing? Because he's getting the same information, the same content. He's in the same program as you. The problem is you ain't working it. Now, Travis, can't we both agree that it ain't going to work if you don't work it? And they're like, you're right. I'm recommitting, you know. But that's what I would tell coaches. I just call people out. If you miss one of my classes, we call you. Why weren't you in class?
Yeah.
Why are you not doing what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
On Monday.
And what we've done to solve that problem, because I think it starts like expectations are starting even before that person puts down the check. And so with a lot of our clients that come into our programs, group programs online, it's they have to go through an interview process. Is this undoubtedly what you want to do? Are you going to commit the time needed regardless of what the result is? We can't guarantee a result in a week. We can't guarantee a result in a year. Honestly, you could never get a result if you don't do the work.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
So I think what happens with some coaches is we don't set those expectations up. And then later in the program, they start complaining. And I love how you approach it too, is like, yeah, it works for someone else. Why is it not working for you? And I think that's something that like us as coaches need to make sure that we're holding our clients to a higher level of responsibility. But I think it even starts before that. It starts as you as a person, and to hear some of these people that are complaining about other coaches and then they want to go into the coaching industry. I'm like, do you hear yourselves talking right now?
Yeah.
You're complaining about your coach, but then you want to go coach. That baffles me.
Yeah. I think that I like how you set expectations. You set a frame. I always ask this question when I'm talking to them. On a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about this?
Yeah.
Are you somewhat serious? Are you kind of serious? Or are you real serious? Because I only work with serious people. Now, if you want me to, did you call me to complain or did you call me to get better?
Yeah.
Call me to make excuses? Or did you call me to help you grow your business?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm showing you how to do it, but you're not doing it. So is it my fault or is it your fault for not doing it? Like I push people in a challenging way, like a good coach should. Right. But
you ever pissed off anyone's doing that before?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure I have, but here's the deal.
What do you do about those people that complain and bitch and moan?
Just let them go. Let them do their thing.
Let them do their thing. Yeah. Because I think that scares a lot of people, you know, from going into coaching is they don't want anyone to not like them. They don't want their friends or parents to say anything. They don't want the quote unquote haters, you know. Sure. What would you say to those coaches that are afraid of the haters or the people complaining about them?
Well, I think it's really a small time problem. When you help enough people on planet Earth, you're going to have people that just don't like you. They don't like your whatever. They don't like my accent.
They don't like your baldness, right?
They don't like that I push too hard. They don't like that I have a private jet. They don't like that I, you know, whatever. They don't like something about you. And that's not your problem. It's their problem. Now, if you're helping 7 people, it ain't going to matter because most of those 7 people like you. They're your buddies. They're your friends. I didn't really start getting any hate until I started helping a lot more people. Okay. When I start helping a lot of people and get out there in the world, there's people that just don't like you for being you. And that's okay. Some will, some won't. So what? The concept is to go where you feel celebrated, not where you feel tolerated.
Yeah. And I think and I know I did this earlier in my year is I negotiated being respected for being liked.
Yeah.
And I was always tiptoeing around how I really felt about things instead of saying no. And essentially, and I think the industry is getting more polarizing. You can't come out with a weak message. You have to be more strong than ever before. And you see this in the political game too. Like you're way over here, you're way over here. And I think, you know, when we have this melted, watered down message, it's just not going to hit anybody.
Well, I think if you really study marketing, if you don't have a message that repels some people, you won't have a message that attracts the right people.
That's a good one.
People don't follow lukewarm people. They don't follow people in the middle. They don't follow average people. You got to have some extreme. Like this is my beliefs. This is why I believe it. This is what I'm doing as a result of my beliefs. Now, some of you ain't gonna like it. And that's okay. But at least you're talking about it and you're thinking about it. And so I think too many coaches are worried about being liked versus being hired. A lot of the companies that hire me, I have to say things to the employees that they don't like.
Yeah.
But the person who wrote the check likes it, because the person who wrote the check wants to get more production out of them. So it's like, who is the economic buyer here? Right? Like, a lot of people tell me, I was on the phone with the guy this morning in New York City. He said, look, I need you to kick my butt, man. I'm lazy. And I'm like, well, we got to get you to a high performance person. You need to want to be a high performance person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not say, well, I got to pay somebody else to kick my butt. Like, I get it. I have a trainer. He kicks my butt. I need to be pushed. I get it. Okay. But my reality is, I got to get you thinking like a high performance person does. You don't need external stimulus all the time to become great. You wake up, you come with batteries included, you push hard, we get something done. We initiate. You're a person of advancement.
Yeah, I love that. And you've had a background, you've coached mostly women, is that correct?
Yeah, I was a women's basketball coach for a decade.
A decade.
So mostly women in sports. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And coaching, I coach a lot of men and women. It's depending on the time. Sometimes it's more men. So as one might say, it's about 50-50. What's been your percentage of men versus women, and how do you coach them differently? Because women and men kind of need different things. So tell us about your philosophy on that one.
Most of the people we coach are probably skewed toward men, but it's interesting. The women that I attract are very strong-willed, dominant women that want to really become somebody big in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
They're like big mortgage originators, big real estate people, big insurance people. It's like they have a dominant gene in them to want to be great. What I noticed when I was coaching women, because I actually started coaching men and then I moved to women, is that women are a lot more likely. They build team better. They want to work with the group better. They're not as individualistic. They don't have this rugged individualism that most men have.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're building teams, when I'm looking at my team right now, like here, there's almost all women, and a few men. Okay. So that's why a lot of big Fortune 500 companies have gone to CEO women, because they're more organized. They think more logically. They work through that. So they do need different things. And I just try to emotionally toughen my people up. Like, I'm a tough dude, I push hard and I don't listen to excuses much. I have not very patient. But I've tried to build a team that is a reflection of my personality.
Yeah. And I think all leaders should, and I come from a sports background too. I coached high school for 4 years. I used to work up at the University of Utah as a strength and conditioning coach, and Westminster. So tell us about how much of your philosophy has came from sports into what you're doing now as coaches. So tell us about your philosophy.
Yeah, my philosophy is we can't have a discussion about a person's potential until we talk about the whole person. Now, do you live in Utah?
Yeah, Salt Lake
do you live in
City.
Utah? Okay, so my greatest mentor was Stephen Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
Who's right? He wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Principles Centered Leadership, First Things First. And Covey really embedded in me this concept of whole person theory. Like, if we're going to talk about potential, we need to talk about the body. We need to talk about the mind. We need to talk about the heart. We need to talk about the spirit.
Yeah.
That produces knowledge, skill, desire, and confidence. Anytime you're coaching a person, they're typically missing one of those structures. They're either missing knowledge, they're missing skill, they're missing desire, or they're missing confidence.
Yeah.
So I have used that theory throughout my whole coaching career. I'm talking for the last 20-something years. Even to this day, when I'm coaching a person, I'm looking at them from that paradigm. Like, where is this person deficient? Oh, he don't have the skill that he needs. Oh, he doesn't have the desire he needs. Or he doesn't have the confidence that he needs. How do I build that? So that was prevalent in my high school coaching days that I've carried over to my business coaching days. So probably 50-50 on what I learned from sports versus business. I'm using both of it every day, which is why I relate very well to former athletes like you, or I relate very well to people who've had a good coach in their life. I relate very well to people that are sports fans.
Yeah.
Anybody who's had a person in their life pushing on them and not settling. I relate very well to those people.
Yeah. My favorite, and it's because I played baseball, is I love coaching baseball players. Love coaching baseball players. Baseball players know how to fail better than almost anybody, because you know, and you've heard this stat before, you fell 7 times out of 10, you can still be a Hall of Fame, player. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And that's what the most successful do, is they embrace getting their ass whooped then
right.
going back and getting up and doing it again. And it's essentially, it's an endurance sport. Entrepreneurism is an endurance sport, you know, and there's different power and strength things that you need along the ways. But yeah, so that's why I love working with athletes too. So what have you done in your advertising and your marketing and your brand to attract those higher level people that you want to work with? Because when I first started, I didn't know anything about branding. I didn't know anything about, you know, and so random people were showing up, and it was usually, you know, the people that wanted someone else to do it for them, which I'm sure, you know, you've had your fair share of those clients over the years, as any coach has. So what have you done through your brand to really attract those people?
You know, it's interesting when I go into a situation and I coach and just be me. Like, I have a very clear methodology. I'm coaching people through it. Like when I spoke at Door to Door, then we attracted X number of people in the door. Okay. Let's say 500 people text or opted in to my opt-in.
So you did
Then
a text opt-in?
I did a text opt-in.
What system did you use for that?
We use Active Campaign.
Active Campaign is what it's called?
Yep. We use Active Campaign. What I do is I give away something of value, a real value during my presentation. Like I gave away my book, Single Digit Millionaire. I gave away 4 hours of video on Single Digit Millionaire. And from that conference, I said I was going to personally mentor 25 people in that audience.
Nice.
Through my book, Single Digit Millionaire. But to even qualify for the mentoring, you had to come see me at my booth, and you had to shake my hand, and you had to text opt in, right? Yeah. And so out of that, we got 500 names. Well, when we go back to those people, we will do a strategy session, 10 to 15 minute strategy session, where I listen, or my sales team listens, and then they make recommendations. If they say they want one-to-one coaching, we immediately bump them up to the 25,000 level. Okay. If they say, I'm just getting started, we put them at a $14.97 product. If they say I can't do $14.97, we start them at a $99 a month product. So what we do is we do these strategy sessions, and then we filter people, and we find out, well, this one's a CEO, and he's actually running a $15 or $20 million company. Yeah. He needs to come to retreats with me. Mm-hmm. He needs to be with my executive coach. So that's how we go back and kind of weed out. We listen to certain triggers they say, and then we filter them to the correct program.
Cool. Awesome. Love it, man. Well, hey, man, I love what you're doing. I love the sports background. You know, that's my biggest thing is, you know, working with those individuals that really want to go to the next level and, you know, connecting with those. How can people connect with you on social media?
Well, they can follow me on Instagram. Just search at Micheal Burt. I do spell it different, Micheal. And you could just put Coach Micheal Burt. I'm trying to get my pictures to look as good as yours. But I'm going to do some Photoshop.
A lot of Photoshop.
Make it happen. But they can follow me at Coach Burt. You go to my website, coachburt.com. I am out traveling in the month of March and doing big events around the country. Nice. So I'd love to see people. I'm definitely going to be coming back to Salt Lake City and doing something at some point. So as I'm out there in the world, just participate, man. If you're looking for a good coach, if you're looking for somebody to help you with your business, to give you advancement, to give you a system and a structure, then I'd love for you to consider, Coach Burt here.
Cool. Love it. Well, thanks for joining me today, man. Thanks for joining us, listeners. If you found this podcast as value, there's a share button in the podcast. Send it to your friends. Again, this podcast is free. I don't advertise any stuff to you. Just giving value to you so you can take it into your business and create more influence and income. Love you guys. Be inspired. Be next gen. And again, the world needs you.